Welcome to Did You Know with Richard Utley. During this 1-hour program, join us as we take a look at today's headline news, Richard's views, history, inspirational interviews, and much more. Did you know this program airs every first and third Tuesday at 11 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube? Here's Richard now. Sit back and enjoy today's featured presentation.
Good day, and welcome to another Did You Know? I think we're going to have a pretty exciting program today. I have a very interesting guest on that I will get to shortly. Well, what am I going to bring up first? Number one, those of you who have not registered to vote, get registered. No excuses. I'm giving you a few days. So get registered to vote. That's number one. Number two, do your homework. Do your due diligence to make sure that the people that you are going to support has your best interests. That's the new thing now. If you don't have our best interests, why should we support you? And I think you can see that overall in government right now. A lot of people voted for a lot of people they voted for now for a number of reasons. And so therefore, we got to start doing our homework and make sure that what they tell us, they're going to do what they said they're going to do and not change up on us. So, we're going to punish those who don't do the things that we need them to do for our community. And we're going to reward those people who look out for us. I think that's very important. So get out there to register to vote because the election's coming up pretty soon for the primary. And all of you know how the primary works. The primary works that those people will be the people that we will have to vote for in November. So don't sit there and say, well, I won't vote for him in the primary or her. I'll catch up with them in the general election. They might not make it to the general election. So keep that in mind. A lot of things is going on in America and in this world at this time. Black America's 2026 Urban Challenges. Today across the United States of America and some of the largest urban centers, Black Americans are having renewal nightmares about being taken for granted, ignored, and being erased in history and in the public square. Think about that. We got some challenges and we're going to have to do something about it. So I just want you to keep that in mind. We grew up understanding there were 3 branches of government. Where are the 3 branches of government now? Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Where's the 3 branches of government? How does a president of the United States tell the people he represents the ideas that federal government's job is for military protection, not Medicare, child care, health, education? Those things are very important. So we need to keep the 3 branches of government doing what they're supposed to do. Because think about it. Right now, we're all over the world trying to fight and be the protectors. But yet some of you can't even buy gas for your car. Some of you have to cut back on what you're eating. Some of you have to go back and see what you can buy that kid that day, whether shoes or no shoes or whatever. Those things are very important. And can you send someone to college if that's what you want to do? But at the same time, you want to be comfortable. And a lot of us in America is not comfortable now. And since we're not comfortable now, we need to take a long look at where things are and where they're going. And I keep telling you, we got to stay on top of things. Let's not get relaxed. And some of us, we get comfortable because we may be doing good, but everybody else ain't doing good. I'll even put in a better perspective than that. Sometimes, guess what? It's our own relatives that's struggling. We all got a relative somewhere down there that's struggling. So because we may be doing good, everybody else ain't doing good. And just like this, as they always say, we're in this together. So let's support one another and let's do things that we need to do. You know, Congress is amazing, isn't it? They're on break. How do you be on break? And when you go back and you look at it, they on break, but waitresses ain't on break, and they got to do double work to get paid. Nurses is working overtime, warehouse workers, delivery people are working. Everybody working to try to make ends meet, but ain't that something? Congress is on break. And members of Congress earn $174,000 a year, nearly 3 times the pay of a typical American worker. Just think about that. And they got health insurance, and they got all kinds of benefits, and they have job security for those. If it's Congress, 2 years. If it's the Senate, it's 6 years. And if it's the president and the rest of them, it's 4 years. We need to understand they need to do for us what's in the best interest of us. And so I'm saying to you, again, we're going to have to punish those who support us, don't support us, and punish those who don't. And those who support us, though, we got to be for them. And I'm going to keep saying that because I think that's very important. Just think, they're on recess and you barely making it. You got to get up in the morning and go to work. Now, do you think that's fair? That's why I have this program. That's why I call it Did You Know? Because I want you to think about it, because I think it's very important. Think about also about the Constitution. And as you all walk around and don't think much about the Constitution, I want you just to think one thing right now, and that is what's going on and what's the ruling everybody is waiting on in the Supreme Court pertaining to the birthright. Whether you were born here, how you were processed. You either were born here or you go through that naturalization system to become American citizen. And now all that's being challenged. And why? And those of you think it won't affect you, you got a new rude awakening. And all I'm just saying to you is do your own research. Think about it. Because a lot of you think it doesn't pertain to you. But in the long run, it does pertain to you. So that's what I want you to think about. I gave you 4 things to think about today. And as always, I told you that we have to do our own history. You keep waiting on people to do history for you, we're going to be in trouble. So I got 3 histories today. And, Sojourner Truth. I want you to do your own research. And most of you should know who she is. If you don't, she was an activist. And you know why she's important now? Because we need some more Sojourner Truths. We need some more of those. There's some of you out there that's sitting there who could be that. You're leaders. We need leaders now. That's number 1. Number 2, this is the baseball season time now. And of course, Jackie Robinson, all of you may know who he is or don't. There's a lot of young people who don't even know who Jackie Robinson is. So you need to tell them who he is. Why? Not only because he was a civil rights person, because he played baseball. And at this point, with this big discussion about how many minorities is in baseball, a lot of minorities don't understand baseball because they haven't been exposed to it in a long time. So we need to tell them, everybody ain't going to be a football player. Everybody ain't going to be a baseball player. Everybody ain't going to be any of those things. We need doctors. We need lawyers. We need scientists. We need school teachers. We need leaders. And many of you out there are leaders. So you can be our Jackie Robinson in a different field. And the other one is, I have my last one, is Harriet Tubman. We had some people that stepped up for us. If they wouldn't have stepped up for us, just think about where we would be. That's all I'm going to ask you to do. Just think about where we would be if we didn't have the Sojourner Truths. Where would we be if we didn't have the Harriet Tubmans? Where would we be if we wouldn't have the Jackie Robinson? Where would we be? And I'm going to ask you this, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to think about, where would you be if a lot of people in your neighborhood, in your community, in your church, or the social organizations that you participated in had not created a way? I always believe that we got to reach back and pull the next one. And we need to develop a chain a chain of a legacy so that we can make sure that whatever we do, we make progress. See, I'm not worried what's going on because you know why I'm not worried? Because we have survived. And we've survived up to this point. So I know we're going to continue to survive. And not only I know we're going to continue to survive. And I'm making a bold statement here today. We ain't going nowhere. We're going to be here. We help build the country. We continue to help build the country. But one thing we're going to eventually do, you're going to have to respect us because we're an integral part of America. Well, who would I have on today? Well, I have a gentleman on today. His name is Jerry Waters. I've known him for a long time. We've been friends. We've talked about a lot of things. And one of the things I want to do with my program, which I always say, I want to bring different people on so people can get different perspectives. I want to bring people on to say, you know what? My life might have been this, or my life might have not been that way. And so therefore, I want people to share their life experiences because if they share their life experience, you might learn something or it might give you hope. So Jerry, welcome to the program.
Richard, thank you for inviting me. Richard Utley and I are very good friends. I'll say that before he says that. We've known each other a long time. We have not spent days together or anything like that, but every time we met, it was mutual, and we shared our thoughts on government. And Richard, your opening speaking about Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, and Jackie Robinson is ironic in that you're having me today because as they were first in their fields, we'll get into some of the first that I had the opportunity to be first in. And I always considered that I was fortunate, but never forgot that I stood on the shoulders of others who went that way.
That's very important, but we're going to get into that. But before we get into that, because I got some good questions for you today, okay. Just tell my audience who you are. And then when I say tell them who you are, just give them a little taste of who Jerry is. And then we're going to get into where you are and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. I look at it as a simple life, a fortunate life. And my beginning started not in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, but I was born in Harrisonburg, Virginia. So if anyone knows either Ralph Sampson is originally from Harrisonburg, Virginia, or James Madison College, which resides in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I was born in Virginia, and that's where my mother's family was from. My father's family, Waters family, is from Harrisburg. So ironically, we'd be in Harrisburg, and then every summer we spend the summer in Virginia. And when I say we, I have a twin brother, Terry Waters, and I can tell you that quite often we get confused, even by cousins that would say, "Are you Terry or Jerry?" And then I have a younger sister, Frances, from my mother, and then my father had his first family, which included Nathan Waters Jr., Paul E. Waters, Gladys Ray, better known as Poodles, and Jeanette Rowe, better known as Cookie. And so that's kind of my family, along with the rest of the Waters family. And we started in the projects, what we call the PJs, the Smith homes. I went to Downey Elementary until the first thing happened that was crucial in my life, and that's the loss of a mother. At age 11, I lost my mother, and a decision had to be made. Milton Hershey School had just opened its doors to boys of color, and I was one of the fortunate, along with my twin brother, in 1968, to be one of the first Afro-American boys to go to Milton Hershey. And that was in sixth grade in October of 1968. And I think some of the listeners probably know what happened during 68. It was, for people of color, it was a very trying time. So anyway, I went to Milton Hershey, and I can say Milton Hershey changed the direction of my life, from every aspect, from a social aspect, an educational aspect, an athletic aspect. Went to Milton Hershey, competed in sports, good student, and was fortunate enough to go to Rochester Institute of Technology in Rochester, New York, wrestle for them, successful wrestler, and then came back home and started a state government state job, working through the ranks from Philadelphia to across the state, and then ultimately management. And when I retired, I was the executive director of Office of Regulatory Affairs, where I was responsible for the regulatory of the Liquor Control Board throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. During that time, Richard, I rose to president of the National Conference of State Liquor Administrators, the second only Afro-American to rise to that position, position that basically is responsible for regulatory changes and concerns throughout the United States. So that's kind of a little bit of a nutshell. I also coached high school wrestling.
We're gonna get in that too. We're gonna
coached
get
high
into
school wrestling, where I started at Harrisburg High School under the tutelage of Jesse Rawls, Senior, and then got hired at Central Dauphin East High School. And unbeknownst to me, another first happened where I actually was the first Afro-American to be hired as a head wrestling coach in 1996 in suburban central Pennsylvania. So that's hard to believe, but that's kind of, and then coached there for several years. Also, I was the first Afro-American to be the head Greco-Roman coach for Team Pennsylvania, and had a successful career coaching. I basically did two silos, so to say, a government silo and athletic coaching silo, and was very successful. And this past September of 2025, athletic department and Central Dauphin School Board honored me by inducting me into the Athletic Hall of Fame. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Good. I want to go back to something that you said, and I'm going to ask you about it. You talked about your mother passing away when you were 11 years old.
Right.
And the reason I'm asking you that, how did that make you in terms of your vision and dreams of where you want to go? And let me tell you why I'm asking you that. Because my mother died when I was 13 years old. I'm having two questions here. The question is, the choice was made for you to go to Milton Hershey. I look back at my life now because my father raised us. And at first I didn't understand it, but I do understand it now because he could have Said, you know what? I don't know what's gonna happen with these kids, and I could have been in all kinds of things. I mean, he could have put me in the system. Me and my sister, we could have gone into the system, but my father did not do that. And early on, I didn't even appreciate it. It's lately in these programs, I'm seeming to have some kind of connect to things. So the reason I'm bringing this up because sometimes we have situations, but we don't allow it to define us in terms of where we want to go and what we want to be. And sometimes I get upset because sometimes people make excuses. So I want to ask you, with that process, what was your mindset?
Okay.
As best you can tell by you was a young kid back then.
Right. First of all, let me digress for a second and say that I was supported by a young lady when I first met her. We've been married for several years now, but my wife supported both my government work and rise, and also my coaching. I have 3 children, 3 wonderful children, 2 daughters and a son, and been blessed now with 2 great grandsons. How you doing, Carter Cairo and Yadier? Yadier is a baby. He just born. But anyway, Cairo's 8. But anyway, I was born with them. But Richard, to your question, thank you for the question. It's a very good question because it's taken me years, okay, to understand what happened in my life. And I tender that with knowing that I'm not the only one, okay? But you don't realize that. And at 11 years old, 11 today is completely different to 11 back in 1968. All right.
Correct.
And the process was, and here's a little historical history. Milton Hershey's, in order for boys of color to go to Milton Hershey's deed of trust had to be broken, right? Because language in there basically spoke to Anglo-Saxon white boys, okay, predominantly from Dauphin County, Lebanon County, Lancaster County. Also, that was going on. There's a school that was on the same level as Milton Hershey called Stephen Girard College, and a historic individual that has a street named after him in Philadelphia, Cecil B. Moore, was a lawyer, and he actually was causing a ruckus. That's an understatement with the people where they were climbing the walls. Stephen Girard sat on Girard Avenue, climbing the walls of Stephen Girard to get in. And so it went to the Supreme Court. And the test was the Girard College to break Stephen Girard's deed of trust, which basically we read the same, and shouldn't be of no surprise because that was the lay of the land and how individuals looked at individuals back during that time. Milton Hershey, through my brother, was one of the attorneys. Both my older brothers were esteemed attorneys, and him and I can't think about them. Anyway, the Stephen Girard case went to Supreme Court. They overturned and said that it was unconstitutional to have that language in Stephen Girard's deed of trust. Milton Hershey School at that time had agreed that if that happened, they would change their deed of trust. Ultimately, first individuals to get in Milton Hershey were from the Harrisburg area: Clayton Wilson, Rick Davis, Jerome Finley, and some others. And my twin brother and I came, in October of '68. So that took place. That changed. The ironic change was difficult, yet not understanding. And today they would have sent us to psychologists to talk to them about our feelings, but back then That just wasn't the case. So one day we're attending Downey Elementary School in 6th grade, and the next day we're being enrolled in Milton Hershey, in what was a pure culture shock. That's the only how I could put it. Being dropped off with adults that we didn't know, kids that were white, teachers that were all white, some that wanted us to succeed and others that didn't. And I don't want to sugarcoat the Milton Hershey experience, but in the beginning it was difficult. But there were individuals at the school that made a difference. Back to your question about how I felt. Honestly, Richard, it took years to understand how I felt. I felt in the beginning, I wanted my mother back. I didn't quite understand why me and my twin brother had to go to this school, and my sister was left in Harrisburg. Couldn't put all that together. And truthfully, it's just been the last several years where I've kind of been able to put the puzzle to complete the puzzle. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I totally understand what you're saying, because I have done the same thing. I look back and reflect on times that I might have been upset with my father for this or that, but later on I realized I was very fortunate. I had a very caring, loving father, but also I was very fortunate because the community back then, we were like a family. So the community embraced. There's people, the neighbors or whoever, they acted either like they're my mom or people act like my father. So I didn't feel so disconnected, because not only I grew up around relations, cousins and uncles and aunts and stuff. So we all stayed together. So I just think the reason I asked you that, because where you are now, how you did not allow it to define you. And that's the issue I have. And that's why I have you on here. Define. So you went through all that and you did not allow it to define you. And then you took the opportunity to say, I'm going to go to a higher level, and you never made excuses. You could have made excuses. I could have made excuses. I know what it's like to be said, oh, I'm so sorry, whatever. So people, my whole point is, we all go through different things. Everybody goes through something. But my point is this here. Believe in yourself. If nobody else believes in you, believe in yourself. Hope is there, because everybody is somebody. And the reason why I've had people like you, because I get tired. I'm out and I hear kids being told they ain't this, they ain't going to be that, or they don't have a role model, or they don't have, or they'll say, well, this person ain't in the house, that person in the house. And yet you came through an experience being a young person because you didn't have a mother. I didn't have a mother. And I'm sure we all asked ourselves, well, why? Why this? Why that? We don't know why. But the point is, it didn't define you. So after all that, and so okay. So now after that, you graduate from Milton Hershey, and so then after that, what gave you the drive and the determination to who you are now?
Well, Richard, I think one of the things that gave me the drive was, ironically, some of the individuals you put on the screen earlier. Even though the internet didn't exist, we were still able to access some reading materials.
Correct.
That limited as it was, to encourage me to strive to do my best. The other ironic thing is, and I don't know, and I don't want to get religious here, but You know, the ministers and the people of God will tell you that, you know, when the disciples asked Jesus, well, when you leave, you know, what will we do? And he says, I'm going to leave, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm going to leave the Holy Spirit. Okay. And I don't know if that what particular is what drove me, the Holy Spirit, and that part of it had me look in the mirror at a very young age and say to myself, if anybody is going to do it, you have to do it. You can't, you can't, no one's going to, some people may help you, they may not, but ultimately, if you're going to succeed, you're going to succeed because you want to succeed. And I kind of understood that, you know, I think by 8th grade in Milton Hershey, you know, we had student home presidents, and I was a student home president both in middle school and also my senior division. I looked at things sometimes a little differently than others, and I built on, or I took the character of what I saw from others, both physically and reading, and said, you know, I want to model myself like that person. You know, I want to lead by that person. You know, when I coached wrestling and coached the kids, you know, even when I was in Philadelphia, you know, I coached a Baptist Church League basketball, and I was concerned that the kids would bring me their grades and talk about life and how they could be good citizens, successful individuals, positive to the community that they lived in. We get so lost on trying to do things outside of our community and not realize we should first concentrate on being a good citizen and leader in our community. And ultimately, those roots will grow, whether they be your roots or other roots that you nourish. So, you know, I had a saying when I coached wrestling, you know, that I'm sure if any of my past wrestlers are listening, that I used to say, don't tell me how rough the sea is. Just bring the ship in, you know? And when you think about that, someone said, well, where'd you pick that up at? I said, I don't know if I picked it up reading or heard it somebody say, but when you think about the words, don't tell me how rough the sea is. Just bring the ship in. And I always say that you don't have to be a great navigator of the waters when the waters are calm. All you have to do is set it on the right course, and that ship's going to come in because the water is going to bring it in. But when the seas are rough, and you have to make changes and understand, you know, which way to turn the bow, which way to, you know, set your sails, then you'll find out who is tough enough to do that, or tough enough, or has the courage. It's better to say has the courage to do that.
That's why we got to have people out there like you to articulate the kind of message you just did. And the reason why I say that, we in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. And when I say we in trouble, back then we had churches. Back then we had communities. Back then we had, I'll use my example. We had the Jet. We had the Ebony. I grew up in Pittsburgh. We had the Pittsburgh Courier. There were those people who sat around, whether it was the barber shop, the beauty shop, or the pool room, who articulated information back and forth. We don't have that. That's why it's important. We got to tell our own stories. We got to let people see who we are so that there will be other people who want to be like us. You've been a coach. I've been a coach. And because we both have been coaches, the most important thing is to develop people so that they can continue to be somebody and be about something. Um, since you said what you said and you didn't sugarcoat it, let me ask you, what do you think we need to do to help our youth be more positive and more energetic in terms of their plight in life?
It's a great question, Richard. And I'm residing in Atlanta, Georgia now, and ironically have been down there. Well, moved my family down 8 years ago, but probably 5 years since I've, not been traveling this way quite as often as I would like or have. Um, and I think one of the things that happened was COVID kind of changed how the narrative for everybody. But to your question, so I see a lot of things, and the reason I brought Atlanta, Georgia, is because um, let's understand our youth is under attack, and we who care about the youth of the day, predominantly the Black youth of the day, um, we've got to find a new strategy. Okay, the government has to find a new strategy. The community has to find a new strategy. The churches have to find a new strategy, because whatever we're doing is not working. Young kids are picking up guns today faster than they pick up candy. We used to pick up candy. There was a store that we'd run in and take a piece of
Right.
one cent candy. They're not picking up the candy. They're picking up guns. And they have nor the knowledge of a weapon and lack of life in itself, living, life, there's enough things that affects life as a whole. But these kids are dying at 14, 15, and they don't realize not only are they changing their lives or affecting their lives, because they're either going to jail for the rest of their life or for a long time, but they're affecting two families and generations of families. And there's kids that are kids because their parents are have made a bad judgment and they're going away for life. So I think the strategies have to change. I mean, I do have some ideas. I tend to believe that young people spend too much time on social media, too much time reading negative stories. I think that the community, and I grew up in the church, Monroe Street Church of God, that became Trinity. My family, all my uncles were the deacons and took care of the church or whatever. So I understand the church, but the church and their missions have to change. And I believe, this is my belief, my opinion and belief, is that we stop meeting kids on their level. All right. We've stopped, we as adults, we as community leaders have stopped meeting children on their level. We'll have politicians will have a children's day and they'll be there that day. That's the only time they see the children. That's the only time the children see them. Right. So I think the focus is saying, see, one thing that I believed in, I think that made me a great coach. And I think I can say that now that I'm in the Hall of Fame. I used to say I was, okay coach, but I think I was a great coach, is I cared about the kids who wrestled for me before I cared about how they could wrestle. Okay. I wanted to know everyone. And if you talk to any of my athletes, they will tell you that I knew as much about them off the mat as I did on the mat. Okay. And because of that, I had no problem of them giving me 100%. Okay. When I asked them to work hard, when I had a conversation about, we've got to go watch tape, we got to get better. But I could have never had that conversation if I didn't first have a conversation with them about what they were about. And they're all individual. And that way you find out which young kids can handle pressure, which young kids can't handle pressure. So you have to take a different approach. You know, some kids, if you yell at them, it makes them go. Other kids, if you yell at them, that destroys their confidence. But if you don't know the individual, if you have not taken time to learn the individual, then you don't understand what turns them on. Okay. And I think that that's what's going on, especially in the Black neighborhoods of young kids. Okay. No one is going to their level. I remember my Uncle Marshall. Ironically, my Uncle Marshall was a Republican, worked at the courthouse, was considered the mayor of Sipletown. And I would notice that every time he met kids, he would give them a quarter. And I'd be like, you know, I watched this for years. And I asked my Uncle Marshall one time, I said, Uncle Marshall, I said, I noticed when you see the kids, you always give a kid a quarter. Never thinking he had plenty of quarters in his pocket, right? And he was like, well, one, I'm sure I'm one of one that gives him a quarter. And that quarter, they can go to the store and they're not going to steal. All right. Because they got a quarter to buy something, right? May not be much. Bag of chips, you know, not now, bag of chips so high, you know, right. but you know, relevant to his era, right? And secondly is they were going to remember him. So the chances of them attacking him, I think he had something, was minimal, right? And that's how I explained it to me, right? But he was reaching these kids on the street who were not bad kids. You see, I don't believe there's any bad kids in the world, right? I believe when they're born, they you know, they may have some issues, but their upbringing, their lack of having, okay, their environment that they live in ultimately turns them into something that society tends to not want. So I believe, Richard, I was long on the answer, but I believe that we are the responsible entities for raising children, from the parents to the community, to the churches, to the government, are not meeting these young kids at their level.
I think what you said is very important. I mean, I do realize that I think we have to become much more involved with young people, and we have to listen to what they have to say. I mean, we have to. I did not realize it until I started talking to people. You know, there are kids who go home who want to stay in school because they want to eat. There's kids that do things because they don't. I ask people why people join gangs. They join gangs because they feel like a family. There's a connection there. And so I agree with everything that you said. We got to do a better job to give them hope, vision, and dreams. And so that's why I'm saying to my audience, please, when you see young people, say hi to them. Make them feel like there's somebody. Everybody, you don't know what they're going through. And you're absolutely, we don't know. So we want to become role models of being positive. Because you're right. I see it on TV. You know, I hear kids watching, well, I don't care. I'm not going to live till I'm 12. And I said, you're not going to live to 12 to myself. I was trying to figure out was it going to play baseball, basketball, whatever, where we was going to go. And these kids are talking about their life is going to be final at 12 or 13 or 14 years old. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that even though he's been a coach, good coach, because he's in the Hall of Fame, I've been a coach. But here's the point. We did it for 3 reasons. We did it because we love the kids. Because believe me, he ain't get rich off of this. I can tell you that right now because I know what they pay. but the compassion that somebody looked out for me. Ladies and gentlemen, you'd be so surprised that I could just sit here all day and tell you people that played a role in my life, just being nice to me, just being friendly to me, just saying hello to me, or having that person like the Waters that gave the quarter so the kid didn't have to steal because he didn't have any money. And maybe you not understand when your 5 friends got, could be potato chips and they got something and you don't have nothing and you with them. You don't know what it feels like. Not unless you've been in those shoes. Or we don't know when kids have been hungry or whatever. But it's about developing attitude. So let me say this to you. If you had to say to this audience and to some young people now, what would be your philosophy? And you shared some of it, but from the perspective now, what would be your philosophy that you would want people to remember?
Okay. And I'm going to steal this from a very good friend of mine. His father is a very good friend of mine. And I mentioned him early, Jesse Rawls Sr. But Jesse Rawls Jr. Was actually the second Afro-American to be a head wrestling coach in suburban central Pennsylvania for Susquehanna. Dr. Rawls now, he's a doctor. Dr. Rawls taught public school in New York. He taught public school in Susquehanna. He taught public school in William Penn, York. He was assistant principal in other schools. He was a principal at Central Dauphin East. I want you to hear me now. Principal at Central Dauphin East. A principal at Cumberland Valley High School. And now is the assistant superintendent for Derry Township. And for those who don't know Derry Township, that's Hershey High School area. All right. They have 2 schools in Hershey, Milton Hershey High School and Hershey High School. And for him to be a black man, to ascend to the assistant superintendent is another story within I grew up in that's just awesome. But he has said to his kids, and I say to any listeners, he says to his kids, be great every day. Be great every day. And that is what a message I would have, is be great every day. Do your best, okay, every day. But remember something. Your best is not my best, and it's not Richard's best. Your best is your best. And Richard, you and I both know, if you go through life long enough, you're going to have some great days, you're going to have some okay days, and you're going to have some bad days. And it's the bad days that get you to the good days, that get you to the best days.
You had a picture up. We're going to bring the picture up of Jesse Rawls there, and you were, there, both of you there, and wrestling has been very good for you. Wrestling has helped define you, no more different than track defined me. But at the same time, it's what you, like you said, it's what you do. It's what you do with it. And you had role models, but ladies and gentlemen, here's my point. We're all role models. Believe me when I tell you, kids watch you. They may not tell you, but they watch you. They watch your behavior. They watch your demeanor. They watch who you are. You are an influence. Good, bad, or different. You are influence. And I think at this point in our lives, in my life anyway, and I'm telling you your life, we owe a responsibility. We owe a responsibility to give back. We owe a responsibility to help develop and encourage, whether it's entrepreneurship, but it's about being a good person. And I think if we act like we're good people and we see, like you just said earlier, everybody brings something to the table. I always say life has peaks and valleys. The key to life is trying not to have more peaks than valleys, but you're going to get peaks and valleys. When you found out that you were going to be at the Hall of Fame, in terms of the whole thing, the Hall of Fame, when you found out you were going to be all those things and you were going to be in, how did you feel? I want to know how you felt personally, your accomplishments, and did you believe, you know what, I deserve this? Or did you say, I'm glad people saw it for what it was?
I believe that I had done enough over the course of my life, especially in the coaching arena, to be considered for the honor. I don't know if I gave it a thought that I deserved it, because Richard, the NFL draft is this Thursday, and most of my friends know that I am a diehard, well, I gotta say Vegas Raider now, but Oakland Raiders was my team all the way through, and I'm a Raiders fan. And in my heart, there's quite a few Raiders that should be in the National Football Hall of Fame, and they're not. And some of them may not get in. And I think sometimes individuals, what's the terminology, get lost in the soup, or the sauce. So I was, very humbled when I ultimately got the call and email advising me that the Central Dauphin East High School Athletic was considering me to be inducted into the class of 2025. So I don't think I sat around and like, well, finally, I think I said, okay, I've definitely done enough work over the course to be considered, and thankful that the powers to be made the choice to honor me in that way.
And the reason I brought that up is because we often hear it. A lot of times people get acclimates and applauses, and they not around to smell it like roses. They're already. Mm-hmm. So I just think it commends the fact that you were able to be recognized why you were here, and realize not only who you are and what you're about, but at the same time, it tells other people they can be there as well. And I think that's one of the most important things. You see, ladies and gentlemen, it's about role models. It's about saying, I'm telling you, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, because I know him. If he can be up there, so can you. He can do it, you can do it. But you got to believe in yourself. And you've helped so many young people. I mean, I want to commend you, because being a coach, people don't realize this. You have a great influence. And one of the things that I could say, being a coach has probably made me feel, is when that one you least expected, the one that you would have never thought, you're walking down the street one day and they come up and say, Coach, thank you for what you've done for me. You had an impact on my life. And you sit there and you go, I had an impact on your life. And hopefully they take that and carry it a step further. So we've talked about a lot of things, and I want to say this is because I want to say it because you brought it up. Because you brought up the NFL, and you brought up a Raider fan, and you brought up you thought people should have been in the Hall of Fame. I know this ain't on the subject. I had a very good friend, very personal friend, L.C. Greenwood. He played for the Steelers. He ain't in the Hall of Fame. But if you look at all the acclimates, but you know what? I know he wanted to be in there. I believe he should have been in there. But guess what? He's still in my Hall of Fame. Mm. And ladies and gentlemen, let's start looking at other people and give them their roses. Because I think that's important. I just wanted to say that because I've been reading about him. And when you brought it up, I just thought that I would share it because I was personal friends with him. But I only have about 2 more minutes because this program went fast. I want you to tell my audience what you think they need to know and remember about this program. I got you on the spot. I told you I wasn't going to make it easy for you to call me friends.
Richard, I think that the audience and those that will research this and watch it in days and years because it's on social media, I think what they should take out of this show is you had Jerry Waters Sr. on your show today, and he wants to leave your audience with the understanding that you can accomplish anything in life if you're willing to put the work in, to turn the negative noise off and stay true to yourself and your goal. Now I'm going to say that again. You stay true to yourself and your goal. There's many individuals that, Richard, you and I know, that have stayed true to their goal, but have not stayed true to themselves. Mm. And I think that when they look back in the show, who you had on today, tried to give a scope on who this individual was, where he started, where he finished, the success that he had, and that if you stay true to yourself and your goal, that you can be a leader, you can be a coach, you can be in somebody's Hall of Fame, or you can be a role model for others to say, Richard, what you said, if you can do it, I can do it. And remember one other thing. I don't believe there's anyone walking on earth that doesn't have some type of talent. You just have to find out what your talent base is, and then you'll be a Hall of Famer in that.
Thank you. I'm going to leave the program on that a positive note. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into Did You Know? But keep this in mind. This program is Did You Know for you to think. Not for me to tell you, but for you to think and give you motivation, because we all make a difference. We're all here and we all bring something to the table. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching Did You Know with Richard Utley. Please mark your calendar and join us every first and third Tuesday at 11 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Did you know? If you would like to be a guest on the show, or if you have an interesting topic or individual that you would like to see us discuss during future broadcasts, you can reach out to us on Facebook at Richard Utley. Until next time, have a nice day, and we will see you again for another